Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. Shooting today from Miraflores in the province of Lima, Peru, in my friend's apartment. Today's video blog is going to be a little longer than normal, and the reason why is because it's an introduction of sorts. When I first traveled to Peru last year, I shot a bunch of video blogs, and I didn't feel like I told the story right. I was very self-conscious about them, and to be honest, after my experiences, I felt like it was a little less important. But over the next few weeks, I'm going to upload these video blogs, just so you can see where I come from, how I saw the world then, and how much I've changed since my first encounter in Peru. After I finish uploading these blogs over the next few weeks, we're going to I'm going to shoot another video blog to sum up what happened between these two journeys and what drove me to make a drastic change in my life. I first traveled to Peru for ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a sacred plant medicine that has psychedelic properties, and it has been used by the indigenous people for millennia to heal spiritual, emotional, and even physical ailments. It's unique in that it has a tradition behind it that dates back so far, and this tradition is very valuable to me. So that's why I traveled to Peru. The key is within. I truly believe that, and if that's the case, why would I get on a plane and travel to another hemisphere? And the answer is you wouldn't climb Mount Everest without a Sherpa. And I felt for myself, no judgment for anybody else's journey, but I felt for myself that this was the way to go. And as you'll see later, it couldn't have happened any other way for me. I went to ask a question of ayahuasca. That's what I wanted, was to ask a question. And that question is, am I crazy? I've been told I'm crazy all my life. I don't live like normal people live in America. I don't live, I've never had a car loan. I've never had a credit card. I'm 33 years old and I've never had a credit card. So I wanted to travel and ask the question if the ideals that I have are possible. And those ideals are to live debt-free. I believe that money, while necessary in some ways, should not be for living. All of life, all of the human race should be able to own their own shelter outright, grow their own food when necessary or as necessary, and harvest their own water. And in our society today, we have an opportunity that people before us never had, which is to harvest our own power, even. The only people that can make such a claim are the cavemen from tens and tens of thousands of years ago, depending on what narrative you believe for human history. They had their own fire. They owned it outright. They didn't have to pay a fee for it if the fire got cut off. So I want to live in a system where I'm the master of my own destiny. I live without rent. I own my own home. I grow my own food. I harvest my own power. I harvest my own rainwater. And the people of America tell me that I'm wrong, that it's not possible, that if you do that, you're going to have to make your own clothing, and you have to make your own soap, and you have to make your own everything. You're going to do it poorly, not as well as someone who's really good at making soap, making it for other people. And to some degree, they're right. I don't want to make a machete. I mean, I might one day want to make a machete, but I don't want to make every machete that I have to use. Not everybody can be a blacksmith and do that. But to eliminate the need for money to survive eliminates dependency on a system. So I went to ask ayahuasca, am I crazy? Should I settle? Should I settle and just take out a car loan and buy a house with a mortgage and play the game like everybody else does? From the moment that from before I even got on the plane to Iquitos, while I had a 16-hour layover in Lima, I met the friend whose apartment I'm staying in right now. And he works for a wildlife conservation group and does beautiful work with the fisheries of the Amazon. Every experience was like this one in that I was completely accepted. People see the world like I see the world here. They want to create a system in which they grow their own food, they harvest their own water. They're already doing all of this here. And I didn't need to drink a cup of ayahuasca to find that. But if I hadn't traveled to meet her, I would have never believed it. Even the people of America that are into permaculture, that believe in permaculture, still are tied to the system in some ways. And taxation, game wardens entering your house whenever they feel like it, because they don't have to have a warrant. All of these things are things that you have to contend with. Illegal rainwater capture, all of these things, taxation even on solar panels has been talked about to great deal. We live in a world of debt in America, and this place is different from that. That's not to say that there's not debt. That's not to say that there's not people who live beyond their means in other countries, but it's not pervasive. In America, if you don't have credit, it's hard to get a bank account. In America, if you don't have credit, you can't buy a car. If you don't have a bank account, you can't buy a car. Jobs are scarce and hard to come by. And we'll work around that kind of schedule. So I decided, instead of trying to make my system in America, my system where everything needed for your next breath is yours outright, is your birthright, I decided to come to a place where it's already happening and where the people have nothing, and I can give back to these local indigenous people. Create a system in which they can make money and use that for entertainment and luxuries, and make the cities less desirable so that they can continue their indigenous ways of lifestyle but still feel connected. They'll have everything they need to survive, just like me. I'll have everything that I need to survive. But if I don't sell herbal supplements this month and my internet gets cut off, whenever I do sell herbal supplements, I can turn my internet back on. In the meantime, I have everything needed for my next breath and all the time that I need to work on making money to get connected with the rest of the world. So, the things that I hope to find here in Peru are not only acceptance and a place to build a home, but also people to share this with. People that are open to it. So I'm going to begin to upload my ayahuasca videos from my first retreat to Kapitari, and we'll cover what drove me back to the jungle on a permanent basis, not just for ayahuasca. I'm hoping to have a more intimate relationship with this beautiful medicine as I go, but the real work, I think, for me is going to be done outside of the medicine. And you can follow me, keep following along, and I'll be happy to share my adventures with you. I'm going to be closing out all my video blogs with books that I traveled with and that I'm reading. And I'll also throw in some movies every now and again when they're particularly poignant, or I feel like I should recommend them. The book this week is going to be For the Chronicles of Tao. It's written by Ding Ming Dao, and this book is the book that I read on my first journey to Peru. It's quite long, and it's a pretty amazing story of a Taoist master in a world that's slowly moving away from his way of life, where when he grew up as a child, it was very normal to be Taoist. It was very normal to see Taoism in China. And then as the Communist Revolution happens, the world changes in front of him. And it's kind of his story of redemption. It doesn't hold back. And in some ways you feel angry with the protagonist at times. So it's an interesting journey. I highly recommend it, especially if you have read the Tao Te Ching, or you have a concept of how that system works, or how that school of thought works, I should say. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.